Welcome back to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. We have Julielle. How's it going today?
Hey, thanks for having me, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited. We had you on we featured some of your music on the Hoedown Showdown. I think it was probably right around the time that Respect came out because it would have been like March of last year, I want to say.
I think that was the Whiskey Wings one. I think you reached out to
Okay.
me when like the first song came out, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Someone wants to put me on their playlist.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
And ever since then I've been kind of paying attention to your music and what you've been doing. And I saw that you had just released a new song 2 weeks ago, I guess at this point, or a little less
Yeah.
than 2 weeks ago.
hmm
Um, and I just wanted to reach out and try and get you on the podcast. And I'm really excited to sit down and chat with you. So
Me too. This is very
awesome.
new.
Yeah. So you're based out of Nashville now, but you're originally from California. What was it like growing up in California for you?
It was great. The weather was always very nice. It didn't really matter when your birthday was. You were gonna have a great weather day.
Fair.
Um, but yeah, my parents were always really supportive, and I had a lot of great friends growing up in the Jewish community, and then also just like in regular school as well. So really grateful for the support that I felt from my community back home, even now. So it was really nice kind of riding my bikes around with my friends and doing some musical theater and yeah, just a lot of really great stuff out there.
Nice, nice. And now, were your parents musical, or how did you kind of get introduced to music originally?
No, actually, it's kind of a funny story. I lived in a neighborhood where my neighbor was in charge of a musical theater for a kids company, and I was the shyest kid ever. And so my mom had forced me to go, audition for the show, and obviously we were gonna get in. I mean, it was like a
Yeah,
kids thing.
yeah.
Um, but I remember they had us sing on the first day, and I was petrified. Just completely terrified, could not hold it together. Hated that for a little bit, but just kept going. And then I eventually made some friends there who introduced me to just singing or embracing my love for singing. I mean, I was
Mm,
like singing by myself. But once I got comfortable with the people around me, I think that allowed me to break out of my shell a little bit more and
mhm.
kind of launch me into just performance outside of theater as well.
Yeah. It's always kind of that interesting um like moment when you kind of break out of your shell or you realize like it's just being comfortable with who you are and who you're around, knowing that not everybody is there to ridicule. Like you when you build up like all these worst fears of
Yep.
being up on stage and being in front of people, and then when you get through it that first time and it's like, oh, I didn't screw up that bad,
I
nobody gotta, yeah. So
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, and that was over many years for me.
mhm.
Um, but I'm just so grateful for that experience because I would have been very different. I attribute my entire social capacity to that one experience.
Fair. Hey, that's cool. I dig it.
Yeah.
um and so at that point, what were you singing? Like, who were you listening to? Or yeah.
hmm I mean, in terms of like the musical theater world, I always loved singing those songs. It wasn't really what I listened to outside of
Yeah.
that. But in terms of just on my own time, Hannah Montana was huge for me. Oh my gosh, Hannah Montana, Hilary Duff. I mean, as a kid, I guess like my parents were into the Eagles, and so kind of introducing some of that country stuff. My dad's from Eastern Canada, so
Hmm.
all of those Eastern Canadian tunes, a lot of the Canadian artists like Terry Clark and all those people as well. Um, and then just like whatever's on the radio, I've really been influenced by a lot of like female um, artists, but I
Mhm.
think definitely the one that comes to mind first from my childhood is Miley Cyrus because she
Nice.
kind of went through all these phases that we were kind of
Mhm.
all going through at the same time. So it was really cool to grow up with her actually.
So I have a weird soft space in my heart for Miley Cyrus because, so this is going to date me terribly. When Party in the USA came out, I was in college. I was a junior in college, so I was just turned 21, all this stuff.
Prime.
and Party in the USA was our pregame song. So imagine a bunch of like 20, 21-year-old dudes, and we're listening to Miley Cyrus Party in the USA. Yep.
Yeah. And that's how you know it's good. You know, you
Yeah.
can have 7-year-olds partying to it and sort of not understanding what certain lyrics mean,
Yep.
or you can have, 21-year-olds and or even, from any age. So
Yeah.
I think that just tells something about her artistry and the way that she can kind of portray those songs.
Yep. 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 We'll go with that. That sounds a lot better than what I was going to say. We'll go with that. So,
Oh.
oh no. So yeah, but yeah, then as she kind of grew through her career and just kind of seen her become like this super confident, powerful, I don't want to say modern day Joan Jett, just because she's kind of had a like a she kind of looks like her right now, but
Yeah.
just
Hairstyle.
yeah, everything, just kind of watching her grow and mature and all that stuff has been really cool. So
Yeah, I really appreciated her little country era when she did that cover of Jolene in her
yeah,
backyard, not wearing any shoes. That was the most wholesome thing. I
yes,
love that.
it was great. That was a great one. I remember when that dropped, I was like, huh, okay, nice, nice, nice. So,
Yep.
um, so is that she was that kind of your introduction to country music as well, or was that kind of like a different phase in your life?
I'd say like around that time, I mean, Miley Cyrus had been a part of my life since I was like 4.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I was listening to her. She had kind of come out with the Hannah Montana movie soundtrack, which has some country-ish tunes
Mm.
on there, the whole Rascal Flatts thing. And
Yeah,
so Bless the Broken Road was definitely one of those top
nice.
top songs for me as
Yeah.
well. But I didn't really think about it as country music specifically, like,
Mm.
oh, I'm gonna listen to country music now, versus just regular whatever I would listen
Yeah.
to on daily. But I had a vocal coach when I was in like 8th grade,
Hmm.
and when Miley came out with that Jolene um, cover. And so I think those simultaneously, like my vocal coach was pushing me to sing Carrie Underwood and all these things. She's like, you have such an amazing, twang in your voice when
Mm.
you sing those songs. Like, why don't you just sing them? But country music wasn't really cool where I grew up. And so it was hard for me to just be fully on board with that. I was definitely okay with singing them for recitals or just for
Mm.
practice. But I never really thought of myself as like a country singer,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's cool to have that come full circle now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And to clarify, in the mid 2000s there, like the late 2000s, early 2010s, I don't think country music was very cool in a lot of places. So it
Yeah,
was
I guess so.
in I'd say in like the last 10 years or so, it's probably really started to pick. It's been like a renaissance, so to speak. So,
Definitely. Yeah.
but yeah, so Miley Cyrus was a huge influence. When do you kind of start like writing, recording your own music? Does that come like much later, or are you still in school out in California? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a long, long story. It's gonna be
Okay.
a long-winded answer. You
That's
gotta
fine.
like
That's all
um,
good.
well, so I went to college in Santa Barbara,
Okay.
California, and
Hmm.
not for music. At that point, I had no idea of what that would look like for me. I wanted to take a music class in Santa Barbara, but they said that the faculty, well, it was such a big school that they just didn't have enough faculty to
Mm.
entertain the non-music students.
Yeah.
So I found a school in Canada because I'm also a Canadian citizen, to just go there for a semester to study music. And so I took
Mm.
like a piano class in music psychology. Someone in my piano class had asked me to sing with them at an Irish pub in the
Mm.
middle of Nova Scotia, Canada. And this was like right before the pandemic. So this is pretty late in my life.
Hmm.
And so after that one night, I was like, okay, I'm going back to Santa Barbara. I'm finding a band. Like, I need to do this. This is definitely where I want my life to go. And so
Yeah.
when I got back, I talked to my vocal teacher from 8th grade who would tell me to like sing country music. And I was like, okay, Pam, like, where do I find a band? How do I do it? How do you even go about that? She's like, well, you have to go and watch people and ask them if they need a
Mm.
singer.
Hmm.
And I mean, it worked pretty well because I went back to school and I remember riding my bike to class one time and I heard a band practicing up on this um the top of a parking lot, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that actually kind of sounds like, the Strokes or something. But I kind of just followed the noise and introduced myself, and they're like, well, we don't need anyone, but if you come to the show, then we'll introduce you to someone who does. And so
Mm.
I met with this band called the Framers that was
Okay.
already established in Santa Barbara,
Hmm.
and then ended up really liking working with them and hanging out with them, and we ended up kind of writing our own music. We mostly did cover gigs for,
Mm.
drunk college kids, but
Right.
we started kind of writing our own stuff. They would have chords, and I would come up with the melody and the lyrics for it. And sometimes we would collaborate, and sometimes it'd be something that just existed in my phone, that kind of made its way onto the song.
Hmm.
So that was definitely my first songwriting experience, informally. And we came out with a few songs. I played a lot with them, and I think that was a really formative experience for me, definitely. But then after that, I was kind of wondering what else there was in Santa Barbara,
Hmm.
because I'd done a lot of the indie rock thing, and I was like, well, it's really fun, but it's not fully who I am, and I'm
Yeah.
definitely influenced by a lot of that music, but definitely wanted to explore other
Yeah.
things. And so I put a Facebook ad for a country band, and I was like, hey, I'm a singer, and I kind of want to do this like country thing. So I ended up playing with a country band called The Reserve in Santa
Mm.
Barbara, and then doing an acoustic duo with my friend Neil. And those were all cover gigs. And so
Mm.
I wasn't necessarily playing with my originals with the Framers, and I didn't have any personal originals at that point. And so, I mean, after that, I was working at this one bar in Santa Barbara, and one of the regulars that come into the bar was like, oh, hey, you should, move to Nashville if you want to be a singer, all this stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
that actually sounds like a really good idea, Tim. Yeah, it was cool. So, yeah, this guy Tim, I really owe a lot of the encouragement to move to him,
Yeah.
um, really supporting the idea and kind of helping me visualize it. And
Hmm.
so that was in February, I think, and then I ended up driving here in June. I had not written a singular song moving here, and I think it was the naivete or, just not knowing how it all works. So I was just like, you know
Hmm.
what, that sounds like a really cool place to go, and whatever, I don't have to stay there forever. It could just be a stop in a journey, and
Yep.
I mean, maybe it still is, but coming here, I was like, okay, well, I have a lot of feelings. And so it helped to like write them down. And at that point, I was alone in my apartment, and I wrote my first song, which is actually the one that I released just a few weeks ago. I wrote
Right.
that one on the floor of my closet. So that is where my songwriting journey actually began, in terms of like just country music, or whatever offshoot of country music it is,
Fair.
and nothing's
Fair.
like super set in
Yeah.
stone. Everything's evolving all the time. I don't even know. I mean, I saw your podcast about the genre thing,
Yeah.
um, with in your last episode, but um, since then, I've just been able to collaborate with a lot of people and see what the songwriting thing means to me. And I think I really have a lot of joy in saying what's on my mind, and
Hmm.
helping express that through music. And I think the thing that draws me though the most to country music in general is the songwriting and the
Hmm.
storytelling. So it's been great to be a part of that and hear a lot of people's perspectives on that. And I've released 4 songs. Obviously, I've written a lot more, and I'm hopefully gonna be recording some more soon. So yeah, I guess the journey continues.
Yeah. Yeah. You made me so proud because like being I don't I'm not saying this, being so young in your solo career, that's the way I will word it, being so young in your solo career
Hmm.
and being this aware that some of these constructs that have been around the music industry for so long, now right now in the this moment in time in the industry, genres don't really matter. There's a lot of things that don't really matter like they used to. And I feel like you're very aware of this, and you found the golden ticket, which is being authentically who you are
Yeah.
and not trying to fit this mold of, oh, hey, so and so wrote a song just like this and it worked for them, so I'm going to write a song just like this and see if it works for me. you know
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
so
That doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. So that you I don't know if you picked up, I was just grinning ear to ear. Like it made me so proud just listening to you kind of tell that story. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Um, so to kind of backpedal a little bit because I'm kind so you said you're a dual citizen. Were you born in Canada or just because your
No.
dad's from Canada?
Yeah, my dad,
Okay.
I mean, we were kind of obviously we went back and forth
Mm,
visiting Canada,
mm.
but definitely home base was California for sure.
Okay, gotcha. I I don't know how all that tends to work because I was born in the US and I yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just kind of convenience thing. It was like
mhm,
he didn't know if we were gonna move there
yeah,
or, anything. So just to make
safe.
things like a smooth transition. But it's helped me a lot, I feel like it's been definitely a very large part of my identity for sure.
Cool, cool, cool. And so you've been in Nashville. Has it been just coming up on 2 years, right?
I think so. I mean, well, it's January now and I moved here in June. So
Okay, so a little
yeah,
over a year and a half then.
yeah. Kind of
Um, how's Nashville been treating you?
great. I have had so many unique experiences that I never thought that I would ever have.
Very fair,
Yeah.
very fair. So since you brought it up a little bit ago, let's go ahead and jump into the new song that you dropped a little less than 2 weeks ago. Change
Mhm.
Your Mind. What's the story behind this song?
Yeah. I mean, again, like I wrote this song on the floor of my new apartment, and I just had a lot of feelings of being overwhelmed, but also being really excited. And um, I had years of thoughts
Mm,
about, your mindset and how you look at things and the perspective. Obviously, everyone has been through those trying times where, something unfortunate happens and you have to either really dwell on it
mm,
or just take it how it is and move on and be able to see the good in things. And I think that through those tougher times, I was able to find the joy in finding the silver linings. And I think that that's what this song is about because I could have just sat on the floor of my closet and been really overwhelmed for years, quite
mm,
literally. And something inside was like, well, you don't have to think like that. You don't
yeah.
have to subject yourself to those thoughts. And it's crazy how just one little good thought, a thought that makes you feel good can change the trajectory of your entire day, your life, your year, anything. And so I think the song was a reminder for me to make sure that whatever I'm doing, I'm feeling good and
Hmm.
I'm thinking thoughts that are pointing me in a great direction. And obviously, sometimes you can get off track or whatever and get down on yourself. And that's totally normal as a human. But just to take those experiences and then transform them into energy to be a better person or be better at your craft is something that was really important to me. And so to have a reminder for that is really cool. And that's what this is.
Nice, nice, nice. And
Yeah.
so that with this being the first song that you wrote, yeah, I got that correct. First song that you wrote, what was it about like right now that was like, okay, now's the time to release a song?
Sure. I mean, I when I first moved here, I didn't really understand how the whole recording thing went
Mm,
or how it all
yeah,
worked. But I met Chris Sly, my producer, quite literally even before I moved here. I think when I was visiting with my mom in the March before
mm,
the June that I moved here, we saw him at Live Oak. We just went there because it was the closest thing to our hotel that had food.
fair.
But we ended up seeing him perform there, and it was really inspiring. And I was able to connect with him and talk with him about the process and how it all worked. And he was very helpful and almost like a mentor in those few months where I was unsure of the path or how to go about releasing songs. But I think once I got to a point where I had enough songs where we could pick which ones
Mhm,
we wanted to record, um, it was just about finding an order for them. And
fair.
even though I had written Whiskey Wings after Change Your Mind, I think that this one is just it's very special to me, and I wanted to put it kind of at the end of the series of songs that we recorded around the same time.
Hmm.
Um, Back last February, actually. So there's one more in the sequence that is going to be released sometime in the near future.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, so it's just, I haven't really been super clear on the exact way to do things,
Hmm.
but just kind of taking it as I go.
Yeah, gotcha. Because usually the next question I ask after this is if it's building to like a bigger project, but you know, obviously this day and age, like singles kind of seem to be where the play is just because of how kind of Spotify is.
Mhm.
Is that something that's been sitting in the back of your mind of trying to formulate a bigger project, or do you kind of like the idea of just kind of writing for the moment and then just releasing from there?
Yeah, I think my music is kind of a mix of that.
Mhm.
I recorded all the songs at once, and I think it just makes sense, like financially for me at
Yeah.
this moment to release them as singles. And honestly, I really like the idea of putting everything as far as your mental
Mhm.
capacity, time, energy, money into one song. I like the idea of highlighting one song at a time,
Mhm.
regardless of what Spotify thinks or, the order of
Yeah.
what you release them in, or if they're an EP or an album or just singles, you know? I
Sure.
feel like just giving them that spotlight, it does them justice. And I'm not really sure why. I mean, I understand the songwriting aspect of it,
Mhm.
but I I think every song is really special. And to put them in a group when they don't really relate too much
Yeah.
is kind of doing a disservice to them, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of grateful for that structure that's coming out now. When someone releases a song, I'm like, oh, great. Like I get to spend the next 3 minutes fully thinking about this one
Yep.
thing that they're doing, and that
Yeah.
they put a lot of time and money and energy into. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I totally understand where you're coming from because so I've been a big advocate for bigger project. Like I obviously I understand where kind of like the industry is right now with singles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, I always enjoy like listening to a full project of an album telling a complete story.
Mhm.
That's just kind of how I like to consume music. But you made a very interesting distinction there that when it's just a bunch of not random songs, but there's no connective tissue between the songs,
Mhm.
then they don't need to be on an album because I've seen that play out where it's like, oh, we got 12 songs and let's just throw it into an album because we can. And it's like,
Right.
nah, don't do
Yeah.
that. So
Right. Yeah. I totally get that.
yeah. Um, so with the third song out, fourth song coming, where are you kind of at right now? Are you all kind of always writing, or are you kind of in a, I don't want to call it a writer's block right now, but are you kind of in a lull point in there?
No, not really. I think obviously there are seasons for everything,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to have as many rides as I do every week,
Yeah.
which is fine, and I like that because then it would just kind of seem a little forced.
Mm.
I think that I space them out even when I'm super hyped on writing and I'm like really in the zone. I really have a lot to say.
Mm.
I try to space out the writing sessions so that I don't overwork myself. I do have like three other jobs right now, and I just don't think there's enough time in the day to do that a
Okay.
lot.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think I mean I am writing very consistently now.
Mm.
With like four songs released, I feel like people are starting to get a sense of the style that I'm going for, and I'm still here to write all types of music. And for a lot of other people, actually, my friend Hope is going to come out with a song. Actually, I think she pitched it to her friend who's going to come out with a song
Nice.
that we wrote. And it's not something that I would ever release, but that I hold really close to my heart. And I'm glad that I had that experience with her. And um, so yeah, I mean, I have a writing session tomorrow, and
Nice.
I don't know, doing whatever I can in the moment. I'm trying not to put too
Fair.
much pressure on that right now.
Fair. Now, since you're getting ready to go into a writing session, I'm going to ask this question because I don't think I've ever kind of had this opportunity to ask. Do you like to prepare before you go into a writing session, or do you like to like clear your
Mhm.
mind and go in like a blank slate almost?
Yeah, that's a really great question because up until I moved here, I
Mm.
had no clue.
Yeah,
And I just did not even occur to me to even think about that. But
yeah.
um, I think it's definitely a healthy mix of both. I
Hmm.
think if I know that I'm going to write for somebody else,
Hmm.
I will listen to their songs, I'll watch their videos, I'll see what kind of vibe they are, like what they usually write about, and then kind of go through my ideas and see like, okay, I'm gonna pitch this one, I'm gonna pitch this one, pitch this one. But if I'm writing for me, well, I kind of already know what I want to say in the
Hmm.
song or whatever. But there's so many times where my mood just kind of changes on a dime where I think that I'm kind of in a sassy mood that day. But then I end up just kind of wanting to write something more chill and kind of just read the room,
Hmm.
and have I think, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have different ideas for different circumstances. So
Sure.
I'll never be unprepared, like, oh yeah, guys, like I got nothing right now,
Yeah,
because I never want to be in that situation. I always
yeah.
want to have something that's going to inspire me to do something else. Even if that original idea gets turned into something else, at least you started with something.
Hmm. Fair.
Um,
Very
yeah,
fair.
but
You
it
know,
definitely varies for sure. It's a good
yeah,
question.
yeah, because it's like you want to go in open-minded, but you don't want to come in so unprepared that you don't get anything done. Like you want to have, I understand where you're coming from because you kind of want to have like an outline of like, okay, I'm going into a write. This is what I want to get accomplished, whether it's flush out this core, like whatever it is. I don't go to songwriter. I'm not a songwriter, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
but you want to be organized, but you want to go in open-minded enough so that if you're in a happy mood, but this guy or girl or whoever you're writing with wants to write a depressing drinking song, and it's like, okay, let's figure this one out.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I think I'm more of the person that comes in with an idea,
mhm.
um, of maybe like a structure of the song and like what each part of the song is
Mhm.
generally about.
Nice.
I'm definitely not a hook
Yeah,
person. I don't come in with a hook. Sometimes I'll come in with a melody though, and like a whole chorus. And
nice.
I actually did that the other day for a trio. I had this idea for like female empowerment song, and I was like, okay, guys, like this is what's gonna happen. Like, listen to this, and if you hate it, that's fine. But if you want to do it, like I'm down to either tweak it or run with it. And so I sang it with them. They really liked it, and it's like a harmony driven
Mhm.
song. And of course, like, I wouldn't do that justice because I don't have two other ladies singing with me, although
Yeah.
I would love that in general.
All right.
But for
That'd
them
be
in the moment, I felt like it was so powerful. And the fact that they wanted to do that was really cool.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So taking a step outside of music, when you need to take time for yourself, decompress, whatever it is, what are you doing? What are some of your hobbies?
Yeah, I have a bunch. um, well, outside of music, I really enjoy journaling.
Mhm.
I've taken a lot of pride in just taking 15 minutes here and there to just write stuff down. I think I sometimes have this feeling that time just goes by so fast and it's hard to remember everything. And, the good and the bad things, as long as I just make a little mental note, I feel a lot better and ready to do other things without having to hold on to whatever I had just done. I also have other jobs. So I'm a bartender. I make drinks for people, which is why I love these type of conversations because it's just like, sitting with someone at the bar and talking to them about, what I'm doing, what they're doing, just seeing who's out there. There's
Mhm.
so many people to talk to and learn from. So I've really been enjoying those jobs. I have 3 bartending jobs right now, which is a lot sometimes, but again, just different people, different experiences. And then I kickbox,
Nice.
which helps get the anger out a little bit.
Fair,
But that's been
fair,
really
fair.
fun to be an instructor, a champion trainer, and then that was kind of a college gig. And then when I moved here, I kind of just did it for fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. So I'm
Thanks.
gonna ask this, and I hope I don't regret asking this question. Since you are a bartender, what do I look like I would order at your bar?
Ooh. You put me on the spot. Okay. What do you look like you would order? I
Yes.
mean,
Just off the cuff, like if you're, I don't want to say stereotyping people, but that's kind of what it is. So,
yeah, I would say you're like a definitely a beer guy. Are you a beer
okay,
guy?
I am. Yes.
Okay. Do you I feel like you're an IPA guy or like a Pilsner guy.
Oh, I'm a cheap beer guy. Super, like the cheapest beer you got, I'm all about it.
Cheapest
So,
beer. Well, yeah, I feel like there's so much out there now. Like there's so
yeah.
many craft breweries. It's so interesting to
Mhm.
see what they're coming out with now. But
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely seem like a beer guy for sure.
Yeah. No, I am. It's yeah, cheapest beer, like the cheapest beer. So spot on, you know.
Nice.
Um, but so, but when you're not working, is it mainly music and journaling, or do you and kickboxing? Yep, that's
Yeah, I also just love like hanging out with friends. I have been doing a lot of like jams with my friends, or
nice.
I love learning like cover songs. Obviously practicing guitar a lot.
Mm,
I've only been really playing seriously since I moved here, and actually that's the reason why I started playing was to accompany myself in rounds. Because when I first moved here, I didn't know what a writer's round was,
mhm.
and I was like, okay, well, you just need 3 songs. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna need 3 songs. And then once I got the 3 songs, I was like, okay, I just need to get myself into writer's round. And then when I got myself into writer's round, I was like, well, it would be really cool to not have to pay someone to play the instrument for me. And
Yeah,
so I started learning guitar and really put my mind to it. And it's crazy how much can happen, in just a small amount of time.
right.
So been playing guitar a lot also.
That's cool. That's really cool. I always have a lot of respect for musicians that they start off as singers first, but then they start to learn how to play guitar, and then because the biggest thing that I hear is they can't get over the fact of having to play and sing at the same time. Like they could
Mm.
play guitar, they could sing, and they or not they get used to both, but trying to put them together, that usually is where it gets a little awkward, I guess.
It is hard at first, but I think it's just like anything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm glad that I don't have those mental blocks before I try.
Fair, fair. Nice.
I'm
Going in
grateful.
with an open mind.
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Duh.
Yeah. Um, so moving forward, how often are you playing gigs right now? Are you just doing mainly writers rounds, or like how often are you playing shows right now?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to play shows all the time. I feel like what draws me to music in general is creating an environment for people
Yeah.
to make memories and have a good time and feel good. And so those live performances are huge for me and really warms my heart when people come out to them. I'm like, thanks, guys.
Nice.
Thank you so much. So I mean, since I've moved here and been playing shows, I think the first show I played was in June.
Hmm.
Maybe. Yeah, in June. And since then, I've done like 3 other ones. But it's just expensive to do the full band thing. I'm just grateful that those have been really successful and like things that I've really learned a lot from. I do a lot of writers rounds. I think that's where I've met a lot of my friends and a lot of people who inspire me just on the daily. Like I could go and watch writers rounds all the time because I love to see like what other people are doing in the area. Um, as far as like shows in Nashville, I try to do as many as possible.
Hmm.
I'll actually be playing on Channel 5, doing like a little
Nice.
live thing on there soon. And
Fun
then
little, fun little connection there. So the TV station I work for,
yeah.
we're owned by the same parent company as Channel 5 in Nashville.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, it's really funny because I was on there about a year ago for
mm,
bartending. Actually, the restaurant that I was working for was like, "Hey, does anybody want to go on TV and show them how to make these drinks?" And I was like, I'll do it. Why not? What the heck?"
right. Nice.
And so that was a great experience. And I was like, that'd be so cool if I could go on there for my music and be able
Mm,
to share my music on here. And so again, just like a full circle thing, it's always been
nice.
something that I thought about, and I'm just really happy to be doing that now.
Nice. That's really cool. Are you nervous about playing your own music or on the news? Obviously not playing your own, yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, yeah, everything, it's a very new experience for me. I'm
Mhm,
not really sure how it's gonna go without like a live audience there, but I think I'm gonna chalk it up to just like a rehearsal vibe,
mhm,
just having fun with my band and playing the song that really is the essence of who I am and
mhm.
something that I'm proud of and that I really enjoy. And yeah, I think obviously when I get there, I'll probably be a little nervous, but it's just one song, like,
Yeah, yeah.
can't be that bad.
It's one of those things where it's like once you kind of start to put it into perspective, yeah, there's not going to be the traditional audience there, but there'll be people in the room. Like it's you're not playing in front of nobody,
Right.
but you just got to kind of put it in your mind that no matter what, you just got to keep going. You can't don't stop in the middle of the
Yeah.
song because you missed a
No.
chord or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah. That's actually very funny that you say that because that's definitely exactly what they told us
yeah,
in all the theater groups that I have been in and supported. They're always like, the show goes on. And if you miss a line, you just keep going. If the lights go out, you keep going. If a fire alarm goes out or, the fire alarm turns on, then that's probably the time that you're gonna have to stop. But like,
yeah,
don't stop until you really have to. So
right,
that actually came in handy. I played the listening room not too long ago,
nice,
and um, it was right after Whiskey Wings came out, and so I
mm,
was debuting the song at the listening room. And right as I was about to say my name, and I was like, "Hi, like my name is Julielle, and this is Whiskey Wings." All the power just went out completely. Their main light system was on, but basically like all the sound was off, all the lights were off. I was like, this is so awkward right now. And I really could have just been really awkward. And I just had this instinct that I think was just drilled into me as a kid,
mhm,
where it's like, it doesn't matter what's happening. You just like keep going. And so I
mhm,
ended up singing Whiskey Wings like totally a cappella for this sold out listening room crowd. And it was the most heartwarming, special thing that, and I think it was a great thing that happened, honestly. And then this
nice.
power came on for the next person. And I was like, are you kidding me? Just like came right back on.
Hey, it's those moments where the unexpected happens that kind of create these like memorable moments for everybody involved. Like the power goes out and you just kind of keep moving forward. And yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool. And
Gotta do what you
eh,
gotta do, man.
right. I 100% agree. 100% agree. So if anybody wants to check out your music, any of that fun stuff, or just interact with you on social, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I post a lot on Instagram
Mhm.
at Julielle Music, Julielle music underscore.
Nice.
Had to do an underscore because there's a Julielle out there
Fair,
also.
fair.
She's very nice. Yeah. So just to clarify, I post my shows on Facebook as well, just
Mhm.
under Julielle. And then I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. I got to get on SoundCloud, I think, but I'll get there.
Fair. SoundCloud is cool. I enjoy it, but it's just one thing that you got to like pay for. It's like a social media platform that you have to pay to be on, and it's kind of a little off-putting. But
Right. Yeah, I haven't been on there since 2017, so I'm not sure
mm.
how that goes now, but I'll have to look into it, I think.
Were you a SoundCloud rapper in 2017?
Can't say I was that cool.
Okay,
But
fair,
I'm
fair, fair.
almost there now.
Yes, yes, you are. You are very cool now. I enjoyed this conversation. Really appreciate you
Mhm.
taking the time to sit down and chat with us.
Yeah,
It,
my pleasure.
is there any advice you have for the young musicians out there that you'd like to pass on?
Yeah, I mean, that's funny. I was just asked this the other day as well. It really took me by surprise because I was like, I thought that I was a new person, like I am just kind of starting to understand like how things work and such. But I think just to start with one thing is so huge. There are a multitude of things that you could do, but I think staying true to yourself and doing what inspires you the most next is the
Mhm.
best thing that you can do. Even if that thing is the smallest thing in the world, just checking it off your to-do list and and just putting one foot in front of the other is so important. And I mean, that's in writing, that's in interacting with people, that's in changing a lifestyle. But it's just crazy how one thought can just change so much, you know?
Yep.
So it's just, it's such a wild ride. And I think just enjoying every moment is so crucial.
Yep. 100%. I could not have said it any better myself.
Just like
You,
this podcast with Tom, I'm freaking enjoying this.
yes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to be maybe a little too honest right here. I was struggling with a sinus infection this afternoon, and I was like
Oh,
on the verge of like, hey, I can't do this. And then I was just like, nope, gonna do this. And this
oh
was
no.
really good. I really enjoyed this interview. So,
Oh, I'm sorry that you're feeling under the weather.
eh, I took not a lethal dose of aspirin, but I probably took a little
Almost.
bit, yeah, almost a lethal dose. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. So
Yeah. Oh, well, I
cool.
appreciate your time and for having me and reaching out to me. I really enjoyed the podcast and um, you know,
Yeah.
hearing your perspective and hearing other people's perspective too, especially from Texas. I need to go to Texas.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the next stop.
Texas is really cool. I enjoy it. And my dad and I go back and forth on Texas a bit because he wants me to move closer to him because he lives down in South Florida. And
Mm,
it's like, I'm out here kind of enjoying my life right now. I don't really want to do that. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Whatever floats your
it,
boat.
right. But I will be in Nashville in the end of February. Yep. I was
I
about to
saw
try and,
that. You guys
yeah.
are gonna come to town.
Yeah.
I was just seeing your Instagram post about that today.
Yeah, it's first time in 4 years, which is wild. I haven't been since the pandemic. And, it's funny because I keep telling myself I'm going to go. And then something comes up, or somebody's like, hey, we're in Memphis, actually. You want to meet us in Memphis? And I'm like, yeah, Memphis is like 3 hours closer or something. So, yes, let's do that. So,
Right.
you know, it
You're
is what it
almost
is. Yeah,
there.
almost there. But
Yeah.
once again, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Anybody that's listening live right now or listening to the recorded podcast on Spotify, YouTube, wherever it is you consume our podcast, please go check out Julielle, Change Your Mind. It's the links in the description. Once again, thank you everybody for joining us. Really appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Stop. Oh, so many buttons to